Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining One United, Principles Not Politics. On this episode, we are going to cover student debt and what the Biden administration is trying to do in regards to forgiving student debt. So join us and see how they are screwing the taxpayer again. All right, let's dive right on in. Biden administration here. Biden says this law for the troops gives him authority to cancel Harvard grads' debt. The HEROES Act will allow reservists leaving their job and family relief from making student loan payments. This is one idea that Biden wants to do in regards to forgiving student debt, and how interesting that it happens to be Harvard. Why did these elites think that we're going to start with Harvard, Yale, and just screw the middle and lower class? Case being, they're just trying to get back to their cronies. That's basically it. When it comes to student debt, there's a couple things we need to cover, and that's what we're going to kind of deep dive in today. Take a look at the university's top endowments. I don't know if folks have ever looked at this, but this is the money that the universities have cash on hand. And these endowments compound every year. So they're making money every single year from these cash reserves. And if there's anything to give students free college, these universities can use the endowment interest only for that year to give away free college. So they don't need the American taxpayer, but what we've got is government and the colleges in bed together, stealing from the American taxpayer. So let's take a look at here. All right. As you can see at the top is Harvard University at $40.9 billion. Actually, I think that has gone up to $54 billion this year. Yale's in second place with $30 billion. University of Texas system is almost $30 billion. Stanford University, $27.7 billion. Princeton University, $25.6 billion. MIT, $17.4. University of Penn, $14.65 billion. As you look at the rest of this list, you can definitely see these colleges have made money hand over fist on our kids and some of our own debt. They don't need help. They don't need any money to give away free school, as you can see. I want to kind of put it in context here. We always hear about the big bad corporations. Another thing about these colleges with these big endowments, they do not pay taxes. They are sitting on this cash. They are receiving money every single year, and they don't pay taxes. So let's put this kind of in perspective. Okay? Pulled up the top 15 corporations that aren't paying their fair share and how much money they have in cash reserves. At number 15, we have CIGNA Health. Healthcare and insurance companies and things of that sort are not my favorite companies. But if you look at this, CIGNA has $10.1 billion in reserves. They do pay taxes, and they have $10.1 billion. As we move on to one of my favorites, Costco. Costco has $13.5 billion in cash reserves. It's a major retailer. Very, very good in regards to the hot dog and the soda. That's a great lunch. If you can ever looking for a affordable lunch, Costco's a place to go. But they have $13.5 billion cash on hand. Now let's go to the big bad boy. The banks, our favorite. They make profits all the time. They get bailed out. And look at here. Chase, $24.8 billion. They do pay taxes. Do they pay enough taxes? I don't know about that. But also remember this. Whenever a corporation has to pay higher taxes, they're not really paying higher taxes. They pass that on to the consumer. And let's go to another biggie. Facebook. Facebook cash on hand, $61.9 billion. Now, this might have changed a little bit, depends on stock value sometimes, but almost $62 billion cash on hand. So as you can kind of see there, corporations don't nearly have as much as the top universities. So the universities are doing fine. They are just screwing students and the taxpayer. Yep, taxpayer again, getting screwed. So be aware, look out. The great thing, I think, within the last 5 years, people woke up and understood you don't necessarily need college. You can go to trade school. You can learn even from YouTube a trade. In fact, if you really want to get into a career, here's what I highly recommend. Work for free. Shadow somebody that's doing a career that you want to do and see and do that for a day or a week. You'll find out if you're going to really like that type of job and career without having to spend $100,000 to $200,000 in college. In fact, I've known people to actually pay someone $5,000 or $10,000 to let them follow them at the company and see if they like it and train them. So that's another way to kind of figure out your career. You don't need to do the college experience. Don't get me wrong. College is great. Back in the 90s, late 90s, I graduated with $37,000 in debt. I thought that was insane. I remember getting out of there and getting that bill. And I think I was paying $200 or $300 a month. So quite honestly, it took me about 20 years to pay off that debt. Now I imagine some of these kids with 50, 75, 100 to 200,000 in debt. Bad idea, bad investment. So just really think about it. Here's the really good advice of the day. To solve the student debt crisis, you took out a loan, you need to pay it back. Think about it. You're 18, you're an adult, although not fully functional. You are responsible at 18, whether it be credit cards or whatever. Spring break and having a good spring break is not worth $100,000 or $200,000 in debt. Back in the day, that was called a house. Now, not so much. But any which way, you take out a loan, you need to pay it back. No student loan forgiveness. Go to junior college the first 2 years. It's not as sexy, but you're going to save a lot of money, and that's a good way to do it. So let's look over everything here in regards to college. I remember, heck, my grandfather, my father-in-law as well, would go to school, heck, USC, and was able to pay that off working in the summer. Seriously, just working full-time in the summer could pay for a full year at USC. USC is now $340,000 to go to USC. Back then it wasn't. So we've got some problems. I think there's way too many administration folks. But anyway, which way? Since 1980, college costs have risen 1,200%. Putting that into perspective, the average house now, I want to say, is 232? No, maybe 440% increase, but college is 1,200% increase from inflation over the last 40 plus years. We've got a problem. We got to look at it. Heck, ever since government got in bed with loans for students in colleges, prices have risen. We got to do something about it. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, what you think we should do. Is it time to start doing a trade school? How about a business school? I think every student in high school needs to know how to balance a checkbook and run a business. That's what we need right now. We don't need folks going to university and spending $200,000 on education. Any which way, thanks for joining One United. Like and subscribe if you like the content, and we'll check you next time. Thanks.